Hello everyone, it's Angelika Kargulewicz, a clinical nutritionist, and if you are interested in healthy nutrition, good nutritional choices, please stay with me. Bananas are a fairly common fruit that we can find in the market every day. They have both their fans but also opponents, but the question is if bananas are nutritious and it is worth to eat them on a daily basis. I will try to answer this question during today's episode. Banana is a starchy fruit, and it is the truth that banana contain more carbohydrates than a standard fruit, for example like berries, citrus fruits or apples. And in addition, the riper banana, the more monosaccharides are produced by breaking down the starch. In addition, the riper banana, the more simple sugars are produced by breaking down the starch, which makes the banana sweeter in taste, but also it has a higher glycemic index, which means that the sugar blood level rises more quickly, and this is why so many people are afraid that eating bananas will make them fatter or, for example, aggravate existing insulin resistance, and this is why they often give up eating bananas. But the question is if this decision is right for them. Of course, eating kilograms of banana, especially the ripe one, will not be a good option for people with excessive body weight or, for example, with insulin resistance. But if we do not exaggerate with the quantity of banana, for sure they can be a part of a well-balanced diet simultaneously without an excessive amount of processed food like sugar and sweets. And of course, if we combine eating bananas with satiating nutrients like protein and fiber from the vegetables, and in that kind of proportion, of course, we can afford them. It is an ideal accompaniment to a healthy and nutritious sweet meals, especially because it gives the desired sweet feeling. It is also good to eat them accompanied by protein, for example in the form of kefir, skyr or for example yogurt, and also accompanied by valuable fats, for example in the form of a spoonful of walnuts or almonds. On such a balanced menu, you will certainly not gain weight eating banana, and at the same time you will not upset your carbohydrate balance. And for people who are struggling with too low body weight, or for example for people who are extremely active, for example for people who perform cycling trips, running marathons, and they have completely different problem to obese people because they need like a quick supply of easily digestible carbohydrates, and in that kind of situation banana is a perfect solution. As the scientific studies show, the consumption of 2 bananas provide the energy for a 90 minutes workout. Is banana a valuable fruit? Yes, first and foremost they provide potassium, and the consumption of 1 banana meets even 15% of a daily requirements for this nutrient, and this nutrient, potassium, is very important for the correct contractility of the muscles, for the maintenance of the blood pressure, and also for the prevention of strokes. In addition, banana also provide vitamin B6. In 1 banana we can find around half milligram of this vitamin, and vitamin B6 is very important for the proper functioning of immunological system, our nervous system, as well heart function. Besides, banana are also very good source of vitamin C and magnesium. Banana for stomachache. Firstly, banana is an easily digestible fruit, and therefore it finds the place in so-called easy to digest diet, which is so desirable for people with gastrointestinal disease. Which is very important that bananas neutralize the effect of the harmful factors that disturb the mucosa of the stomach. So it is very important to incorporate into our daily diet the bananas when we want to fight against the excessive amounts of gastric juices. Also, bananas are very important in the prevention of ulcers formation, and also they promote their healing. So bananas are very desirable in the diet of people with gastric ulcer disease. Bananas recommended in constipation or in diarrhea, and here all depends on the ripeness of the bananas. For example, light green bananas with more starch, with its constipating effect, they will be recommended more for people with loose bowel movement, so in case of diarrhea. There is even a meal such as plantain, which is a meal made from unripe and dried bananas. This is a kind of remedy for diarrhea. On the other hand, more ripe bananas, they contain more simple sugars and therefore they exhibit osmotic effect, which means that there is an attraction of the water into the lumen of the intestine, and in turn it is caused that they have like a more laxative effect, which is indicated for people with constipation. It is also very important that bananas contain fructans, which are very difficult to digest. They are fermentable and therefore they can increase the intestinal gas. For example, very ripe bananas are not recommended in the elimination phase of low FODMAP diet. But it is also important to remember that fructans are mainly problematic for people with certain predispositions, such as irritable bowel syndrome or, for example, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Can banana be dangerous to people with allergy or food intolerances? Unfortunately, we should bear in mind that innocent bananas, they can pose some kind of threat to some of the people. Why? Because the bananas, especially ripe one, contain biogenic amines, and the higher rate of ripeness of the bananas, the higher content of those amines. Especially I would like to draw attention to histamine, and for people without histamine intolerance, they can tolerate bananas, but people with histamine intolerance, which is caused by deficiency of the histamine degrading enzyme like DAO, those people with histamine intolerance, they can experience very unpleasant symptoms after eating bananas, and those symptoms are like swollen eyelids, itchy skin, digestive problems, but also very dangerous angioedema. Bananas and headaches. It is also worth to mention that the browner, the riper banana, the higher content not only the histamine, but also another biogenic amine like tyramine. Therefore, it is worth to consider whether frequent headaches occur after the consumption of biogenic amines such as histamine and tyramine, which are present in overripe bananas. Another symptoms of the hypersensitivity to biogenic amines is the increase in blood pressure, which in turn can intensify headaches. Bananas and food-drug interactions, is it really possible? Unfortunately, it is possible, but for people who are taking specific kind of drugs, which means monoamine oxidase inhibitors. So in those people, they should be very cautious when they are eating bananas, especially the ripe one. But why? Because the ripe bananas, they contain biogenic amines like tyramine, and this kind of amine is interacting with these drugs, and the effect can be like a very dangerous effect, which is called cheese effect. The cheese effect can be very dangerous, like a sharp rise in blood pressure, palpitations, headaches, hypertensive breakthrough, but also intracranial hemorrhage. So which people should be cautious while eating overripe bananas, especially those who are taking monoamine oxidase inhibitors? For example, people who are taking some drugs for treating depression like moclobemid, but also people who are treating some kind of gastrointestinal infections like furazolidone, and also certain drugs for treating hypertension. All of the drugs which are the monoamine oxidase inhibitors can cause this very dangerous interaction like cheese effect. Bananas and feeling fatigue. The mixture of the sugars contained in banana together with the amino acid tryptophan can influence the brain activity, and on the one hand it can increase the feeling of bliss, but on the other hand it can also increase the feeling of drowsiness. In conclusion, are bananas so scary? I would say that they can be very nutritious. They can help when it comes to bowel movements. For example, they can help to treat constipation, diarrhea, and also ulcer disease. They can be also very helpful when it comes to regulation of our blood pressure or, for example, improve our mood. But of course, some of the people should be cautious while eating banana. For example, people with histamine intolerance and also people who are taking specific drugs like monoamine oxidase inhibitors. And of course, we should remember while eating banana that quantity is very important, and also the state of the ripeness, because more ripe bananas have higher glycemic index. If you liked my video, please subscribe my channel, and I hope that we will see in the next episode.